up your hands on the old YouTube. Talk about sports for me and you. Roope and Rumsey is their name. Chat about things from the latest game. Roope and Rumsey, oh Roope and Rumsey. It's time for Roope and Rumsey. The boys.
All right.
The boys.
Again, thank you, Terry Hahn, for the great jingle. And everybody, thank you for coming and joining us tonight on a special edition of the R&R Show. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the best little sports show ever. I am your host, Michael Roope, and this is the co-host, William Rumsey. Hello, William.
Howdy.
All right. Tonight, unfortunately, we've got to talk about a passing of a legend and coaching, and any kind of coaching. I mean, I think he would probably rank in coaching all time in any sport, but certainly in football, he would be on the top 5 list, I would assume.
Yeah.
He's definitely, he still holds the most wins at 347. Do you think anybody will catch him at this point?
Oh, that's one of the things that I wrote down.
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Bill Belichick.
Yeah, what is Belichick
He's at 273.
273. And
Shula's at 328.
So what does that break down to? I mean, he still has to average 10 wins, probably 6-7 more years.
50 wins.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
I wouldn't put it past Bill.
Well, Bill's always driven, and but he doesn't have Tommy Terrific now. So
Jared Stidham.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But Don Shula had a ton of great years in coaching. He had the 2 Super Bowl wins, but the crowning achievement obviously is the undefeated 72 Dolphins.
1972, 17-0.
Yeah.
And
still hasn't been done.
They always stayed in the news every season because when the last team would the last undefeated team would lose their first game,
what would they do?
They would pop champagne bottles.
Yep, and
popping bottles.
I'd like to think that that they were not as a celebration, but a celebration of his life, probably popping the cork one last time tonight to honor their great leader and coach Don Shula.
For sure.
I mean, just talking about some of his accomplishments. He was the 4-time Coach of the Year. Obviously, the perfect season, which is kind of some interesting parallels between him and Belichick. Belichick almost, got the undefeated season, which arguably, and in my estimation, is the best team ever. I know a lot of people say the 72 Dolphins, 85 Bears were in that conversation.
Eli Manning.
Yeah, well, hey,
do we want to talk about Eli Manning?
No, we don't want to talk. About it, but this is Don's day. What really amazed me about Don was his adaptability. Early on, in his career as a young coach, I mean, it was a ground and pound him kind of game, especially with even the 72 Dolphins with Zonka and Kick. They pounded. They were smash mouth football. But then, he got a shiny new toy in Dan Marino, and he adapted quickly and understood it was becoming a passing league. And he changed with the times, and not many coaches can do that, but Don did.
No, I thought it was amazing when I was reading his accomplishments today. And 30-something years of coaching, he only had 2 losing seasons.
Unbelievable. That's unbelievable. Can you, speaking of those 32 years, can you tell me his biggest loss? What's his worst loss?
Oh.
A little trivia time.
He lost to Broadway Joe.
Correct.
Oh,
that is his biggest.
I was not
loss.
prepared for that question.
And, well, you weren't. I like to throw you off
Yeah.
kilter every once in a while. And to his credit, that was early in his coaching career.
Yeah.
But he bounced back. I mean, it would have been easy for him to crumble under the scrutiny, being the biggest underdog and losing to Joe Willie Namath. And just a side note about Joe Willie Namath, for all the Joe Willie Namath supporters. I don't know if you guys realize this, but he had more losses than wins.
Yep.
He's had more interceptions than touchdowns.
Yep.
and he's in the Hall of Fame. Nobody has rode the coattails off of one game more than one Joe Willie Namath, but he had flair.
And one great drunken interview.
Yeah, and one
Susie
great.
Colbert.
Yeah, hey, he rode it to the Hall of Fame. Get Ken Anderson in the Hall of Fame. If Joe Willie's in there, get Ken Anderson in. But getting back to Don, he did produce us a Bengals coach, one Dave Shula.
Oh man.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Those were some lean years from '92 to '96.
I believe he was the quickest coach to 50 losses.
Wow. Hey,
19-52 record with
those,
the Bengals.
I think we, as Cincinnati fans, were all hoping we were going to get a Don replica, and Dave was anything but a Don replica. He was not good at all.
But a couple notes said he was an innovator and a motivator who perfected the 3-4 defense and was one of the first coaches to aggressively utilize situational substitutions.
Look at that. Hey, innovator. You think of some of the great innovators. He definitely was one of them. Paul Brown was, at the top of the list. Mm-hmm. But Don, the funny thing about Don, if you look back and, I didn't look this up, but I always remember as a kid that the Dolphin teams always historically was the least penalized team or one of the least penalized teams every single year because Don wanted perfection. Yeah. And he expected no silly penalties, no dead ball fouls or anything. I mean he expected perfection, and they definitely achieved that in the '72 season, and all of his teams were very not penalized.
To go back to backtrack, I forgot to talk about this. So when the Super Bowl. It was Super Bowl what, 2?
3.
The Joe Willie?
Yeah, okay. That's Super Bowl 3.
So the rumor was so after that Super Bowl he went to Miami.
Yep.
The rumor was that the owner of the team that he coached lost a big bet and was pissed and never forgave Shula.
Really? I've never heard that.
His name was Carol Rosenblum. He was the Colts owner.
Big mistake, Carol.
Said he had a big bet. That's the rumor.
Big mistake, Carol.
That's
one of the bonehead moves of the century. It ranks right up there with Adidas and Jordan.
Yeah.
Right. But that was
and his son. When the Bengals were looking to hire coaches, the Bengals, Bill Cowher was one of the coaches that was potentially up for it.
Oh!
They hired Shula.
Oh, wow. Did not know that either.
Yeah.
Now we know the rest of the story. Hey, listen, just a couple other little fun facts about Don. There was a People magazine did a article on Don one time, and they had stated he almost became a priest. He loved coaching, and he wanted to become a priest. He knew one of them had to give. Ultimately, he gave up becoming a priest to become one of the greatest football coaches of all time, which was I found very interesting.
He was also in the Ohio National Guard.
Yeah. And did you know he grew up in a suburb of Cleveland?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of Ohio ties in there.
Yeah. He was an assistant coach at UK for 1 year as well.
Oh, I did not know that. Yeah. So, and again, growing up, in the, again, I'm 45 years old, but me and my older brother, he was a diehard Dolphins fan. And, growing up, one of my early memories of Super Bowls was the '82 Super Bowl. He was a diehard Dolphins fan, and, a little-known court, David Woodley, took them, and they ended up losing to the Redskins, the infamous John Riggins game, the big Hogs up front. But, that just shows you he was willing to change quickly, even though he had a Super Bowl quarterback in '82 and David Woodley. He quickly pulled the trigger on Dan Marino coming in, even though he had a Super Bowl quarterback just 2 years earlier. In '84, he gets Marino. He's like, take the reins, young man.
Wasn't Marino the 5th quarterback taken in that first round?
I think he was, yeah. I mean, he did a little bit of an Aaron Rodgers kind of slide there.
In the 20s, but mean, he was better than, I believe, every quarterback. Well,
Elway was, in that
that
class
Elway?
too.
Okay.
Yeah, Elway was in the class. Todd Blackledge, I believe, got taken
was Jim
before
Kelly
him.
in that one?
Yep, he was also in it. It was the
Ken O'Brien, I believe.
Yeah, Ken O'Brien was the other one. Yep. So
okay.
again, Don was unbelievable coach. Where do you rank him as in an NFL as far as all-time
coaches?
I mean, who do we got? We got
Man,
obviously typically put Belichick.
It's funny. Like I pulled like his record against all these just Bill Walsh, Chuck Noll, Vince Lombardi, Tom Landry. I mean, he had winning records against all those coaches except Vince Lombardi. He was 4-6 against Vince. But he had winning record against Chuck Noll, Bill, all the big names,
all the heavyweights of the I mean, you would
Chuck Noll. I mean, he
does, and the funny thing is he's got the most wins, but I don't think he gets as near as much credit as being an all-time.
He does
coach.
on the Roope and Rumsey show.
That he does. Tonight we will toast Mr. Shula.
We will
and pop the cork one last time because he was definitely a big part of my childhood.
But I'll tell you what, it's tough to argue against Bill Belichick.
No,
as the top dog.
Yeah, no, I say Belichick as number one. Walsh would probably, for me, be number two. Joe Gibbs is in there. Bill Parcells.
Yeah.
Tom Landry, maybe.
Chuck Noll.
Yeah, Chuck Noll. Yeah. Again, Chuck doesn't get as near as much credit as he should for 4 Super Bowls. But
Dave Shula?
No. You might want to go down to about the 500 or something, coach, for Dave. But again, we're honoring Don today. Great coach, and still to this day, the only undefeated season. So, we're going to wrap this segment up, and we will see you guys again soon. Thanks.